a brief look into what the Shareholders Association of Nigeria, joining Oando PLC and its management team and the board of directors in calling out the Securities and Exchange Commission for not availing Oando PLC with what they call fair hearing. Now, these are some of the findings. Now, the audit took ETI, that's Eco Transnational Bank, that's India time, 4 months compared to Oando's 18 months long investigation. Now, on conclusion, the audit, SEC invited the bank, board members, and management, and the management team to defend the findings of the auditors, KPMG. But Oando, according to them, was not given an opportunity to present its case before Securities and Exchange Commission. Also, the ETI's Eco Transnational Bank, in their case, the defense was incorporated into the final forensic audit report, while Oando was not allowed a defense, according to them. And that's what we've seen. The final KPMG forensic audit report was delivered to ETI's headquarters. To date, Oando says they are yet to see the forensic audit report. In all of this, in this same case, the ETI case, they were unable to convene an administrative proceeding committee and so cannot issue sanctions under their procedures. In the case of Oando, despite not convening an APC, SEC goes on to impose sanctions. Now, the recent cancellation of the AGM of Oando by the Securities and Exchange Commission did not go well with minority shareholders of the company. In Lagos, the group denounced the action of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Effiong Gekop was there, and after this report, I will be seated as my guest is here to bring more insight and put this into perspective. Enjoy it.
A group of minority shareholders of Oando PLC said the Securities and Exchange Commission acted in bad faith when it cancelled their AGM at short notice. Hamzat Rilwan, leading these minority shareholders, revealed on Wednesday that many of them had committed expenses ahead of the Oando AGM by traveling from locations, booking flights, while the company paid for the venue of the aborted AGM.
We, the minority shareholders of Oando PLC, categorically state our utmost displeasure and disappointment at the Securities and Exchange Commission's current management of the investigation into Oando PLC. The actions over the last 2 years, and especially the last 10 days, has shown that our voices as minority shareholders are not being listened to. Their actions in the Oando case has neither protected us nor shown a duty of care.
Other members lamented huge losses they have recorded on investment due to the general downturn in the stock market, expressing fear that any action that would cause further drops in the shares of Oando may worsen their investment crisis.
We shareholders, we have lost a lot in the capital market today. That is why we are calling on the Securities and Exchange Commission to temper justice. Of course, we've lost a lot, especially in the banking sector. And what SEC is doing today is like adding salt to our injuries.
The company has wasted a colossal sum of billions or millions of naira in preparation, logistics. Annual report have sent out already, printed by the company. And before any AGM take place, regulator, which is SEC, must approve that AGM. So why don't allow the AGM to go ahead as planned, as given approved by the same SEC?
Oando's shareholders say their company is currently recovering from debt payment and has shown signs that it will bounce back to dividend-paying status. They enjoined the Securities and Exchange Commission to assist Oando to reposition its operations in the interest of shareholders and the larger economy. Effiong Gekop, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, the Securities and Exchange Commission originates from the ad hoc non-statutory capital issues committee established in 1962 as an arm of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The committee became the Securities and Exchange Commission in 1973, and then the Securities and Exchange Commission was chartered with SEC Decree number 71 of 1979. Commission is now chartered by the Investments and Securities Act number 45 of 1999. I have between the studio a minority shareholder of Oando, Hamzat Rilwan. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start this way. A lot has been said. We've been reading a lot talking about this issue between Oando and SEC. And so many of you, even stakeholders and shareholders like you, have said that the interests of the shareholders are not being protected by this action by SEC. Let's start that way. What do you make of that submission?
Thank you very much for having me in your studio today. It is important to note that SEC was established to protect the interests of the shareholders, minority or majority. SEC was established not to come and kill investments. SEC was established to regulate the markets. So if we have SEC with all those that it is supposed to do as its primary responsibilities, now failing in its duties and responsibilities, then there is need for some people or somebody to regulate the regulator. And if the people in position of authority are not doing that, then those of us who are the investors, whose interests is going to be killed, because you see, this thing is not so peculiar to SEC. All the regulators, you are in the media industry. Not too long ago, we know what happened to Dow Communications. In the banking sector, we have the central bank, especially during the time of the former governor, what do you call his name now? Emir Sanusi, Lamido Sanusi. You would recall that about 5 banks were grounded. He cited infractions. Now, after citing those infractions, they went to court. He suspended them, or he sacked the directors. Those directors went to court. Without looking at anything, I am telling you authoritatively here that Francis Atuche of PHB was discharged and acquitted, because I personally followed PHB, was discharged and acquitted. What happened to the shares of, what happened to our shares? The bank had been grounded, and the bank is no longer belongs to us. Not too long ago, we have Skybank. This is the same Skybank that we raised the alarm that time that Skybank, things were not going well with the bank. They said no. They came with all sorts and said nothing was wrong. We wrote to SEC. Just December last year, this SEC was petitioned that Continental Reinsurance was leaving Nigerian capital markets, was leaving Nigeria for Mauritius. They held an AGM. At that AGM, shareholders disagreed with the resolution. But when they saw that they were not having their way, they went to bring in their staff to come and pass the resolution. We were there for more than 5 hours. We petitioned SEC afterwards. Today, Continental Insurance is no longer in Nigeria. All this impunity, we cannot go on with it.
It's even worrisome where you see that there is no board at the Securities and Exchange Commission at this time. Really, like you said, who regulates the regulator? So how come when there is no substantive board on ground and someone is now going ahead to pass sanctions?
That is one of the things we have against the acting DG, Mary Uduk. I think one of the things she's supposed to do is to, when the reports came, according to her, because like it had been said in a number of publications, shareholders are yet to see the reports. The board and management of Oando PLC are yet to see the reports. Of course, from what your slides, you saw that this thing happened with Echo Transnational Incorporated,
yes.
And due process
was followed.
Why not in the case of Oando? If you have anything against Wale Tinubu, go and confront Wale Tinubu personally. Oando is not an individual. It's a corporate entity. So leave Oando outside of whatever problems you have with whether Wale Tinubu or Omanwofe Boyo or any other director. Go and sort yourselves out. Leave Oando out of it. SEC, as we speak, does not have a board. So who approved that sanction? This SEC we are talking about
is fining organizations, companies. Yet the last annual report of SEC that is available is of 2014. Where is the 2015 account of SEC? Where is the 2016, 2017? This is 2019. And if a company does not file its account by the 31st of March, you come up with fines. All these things are geared towards killing our investments. They are killing the Nigerian capital market, killing the Nigerian economy.
Let's look at the AGM that was also called off. You know, like we read in that report, it was the same SEC that gave that date, the approval for that, and they still came up to say this won't hold. Tell us the negative effect this also had on shareholders like you.
You see, if you are not consistent as an individual or as a board or body, you are bound to fail. SEC approved the results, the annual report, financial results of the company for the year ended 2018. They gave the date, the sanction dates. So why would you now come hours to the AGM? No print media, no electronic media, published it, but on your own website. You now sent a letter to the company from what we have read on the pages of the newspapers, that you sent letters to the company at about 12:35 p.m. telling the company that the AGM that was supposed to be held the following day has been cancelled. Shareholders came. One of the things they fail to realize is that we have the Companies and Allied Matters Act. This is the Bible or the Quran, as the case may be. Here it states that you should send notice to all shareholders at their registered address, whether in Nigeria or outside of Nigeria. This company fulfilled that obligation. Talking about Oando PLC. They did not only do that. There's another provision for additional notice that they should publish in at least 2 national dailies. They did that. The length of notice is 21 days. This company published their notice more than 30 days before the date of the AGM. How can somebody, you see, I don't want to use some words here because we are on air.
Yes, please.
But you cannot just sleep in your house overnight and just because somebody, your predecessor, was asked to come back to the office by a court. It has not been, the minister has not said so, especially because now we even have permanent secretary running the Ministry of Finance. So he has not come. You just want to do something to show that, oh, I am active. And you went, made pronouncements. When this lady was appointed, the shares of Oando traded at 6.90 naira. Today, as we speak, the shares of Oando is trading at 3.80 naira. When the day she made that pronouncement, the shares of Oando was in excess of 4 naira. But following that killing pronouncement, the fortunes of Oando and Oando shareholders has continued to dwindle.
That's the next thing. Let's look at how the market people are taking it. Stockbrokers.
There's no how anybody will take it.
Negative.
It is negative. How can you?
Because I knew immediately after the sanction, there was a bound. It was about 5% on the high side.
Yes.
That was immediately after.
Yes.
So I thought that trend was going to be followed, but immediately it was on the negative.
See what happened that day. People had placed orders.
Okay.
Because the company that had made losses, coming from a loss position of about 180 billion, as now, this is the second year running that they are recording profits. And shareholders feel, interestingly, once this AGM is done and dusted with, the company will have approvals that are required, and they will go ahead and do to further deepen the fortunes of the company. And in another 2 years, We are looking forward to dividends. Mind you, how you profit from the stock market is not just dividend. You hunt bargains, yes. But if you buy, for instance, a company declares profits, if a company is consistent in giving its report, you'll see that the company will appreciate. But when somebody, a so-called regulator, comes up with such pronouncements as this, where do we go?
Moving forward, you guys as shareholders have made your position known. We've seen all of it on the internet, online, in the news, print media, electronic media. Where do we go from here as stakeholders here? What are your expectations to be able to move on?
Our expectation is for the president and or the vice president to be up and doing. They should up their game. They should make sure that any in Nigeria, since President Buhari came on board, our economy has not been good. Yeah. Let's not
lot of issues, dropping oil price, economic challenges, and all of that.
You know that the Nigerian capital market is a barometer.
Yes, that measures the rate of every economy.
So if you now have regulators that are destroying that barometer, what do you do? No, tell me as a person, what will you do if you have somebody that you have appointed? Okay, you will come and fix this. Okay.
Indeed.
And at the end of the day, that person is now worsening the situation. Then you send the person away. So people went to courts. All of us, we know that in this country today, there is this crisis between the, the legislative arm of government, the judiciary, and the executive. And the executive the judiciary said, when you came up with your pronouncements, these people rushed to court. At the court said, let status quo remain. What is the status quo? The status quo is that let things continue running as they are. So why will you now come back? Don't you think it's a contempt of courts? You disregard a judgment, and you will also want to get justice from that same court.
One day.
These things are not done. This SEC, during the time of Aruma Ote, when they had problems with the National Assembly, they rushed to shareholders. It was shareholders that mobilized themselves and went to Abuja, to the National Assembly. So why is somebody, a successor, now out to kill the same shareholders?
A big question there. We expect for answers. Mr. Hamzat, I see that passion, and I know what it means is an investment. And when one expects something coming, like some of the shareholders I also spoke to, they said they already had plans.
It is not just that. People came, my humble self, for instance, from Zamfara State. My friend Kabiru Tambari from Sokoto State. Mukhtar from Kano. Farouk Umar from Kano. There's this guy that also came from Maiduguri. In fact, even if you don't think of it, look at the security risk in those states. And we have said, okay, because of our interest in our company, we came all the way. Who is going to reimburse us? The AGM expenses is in tens of millions. Is SEC, anyhow, that is a discussion for another day. Because they have to pay us.
I really understand that.
I
know relevant agencies will look at Mr. Hamzat Ridwan. Thank you very much, minority shareholder, Oando PLC.